Good morning, ladies. Week 3 of the Pink Santa. Melissa Shirley. Susan Roberts. Melissa Shirley. Yes, Melissa. The Nutcrackers are Susan Roberts. Okay. Yes, Melissa Shirley, Pink Nutcracker. We are up to week 3. We will do one more week. I broke it down just because there was this, it gets a little bit more technical with the turkey work and the ribbon work and everything. So I broke it in half. So this is today. We're going to work on the bag on the back. So the bag is done in just a woven stitch, just a back and forth woven, nothing too technical, nothing too difficult. So you're going to, of course, you've already worked the top part, and you're going to work the work the bag. Then from the bag, you're going to move over and work on the basket that is on the front. Because mine has been stitched, it's harder to see. So let me pull this one. So as you can see in here, you've got the white and the gray. And that is just a wicker basket that the flowers and the bunny are sitting in. So what I did was I did a herringbone stitch, which gives it just a little bit of a woven kind of look to it. I also put and I did it as a tram stitch. And when you do a tram stitch, you go from right to left, then you stay and you just come down 2 and you go back the other way. So on a tram stitch, you're not going back and forth. So on the back, you're just going to have the single stitch coming down the sides as opposed to overlapping on the back side. So that's a tram, is you don't necessarily have to keep going from here to here, back to here to here, 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 here. You're just going here, 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 and you're just working it up and down. So the back of your canvas, let's see how mine looks. It may not be able to show. Yep, it does a little bit here. So as you can see right in here, there's nothing in there because all my stitches are on the side because it's just a long stitch. And then I went back and put the herringbone on top of it. So that is that. And I did work it over some areas because I knew I was going to be covering them. So I actually worked it over the hearts. And I worked it over parts of the leaves and the feather, or the leaves and the flowers. So let me go back to the painted one here. So I actually ran it just below the bunny's foot and kind of ran it. And I came up under, because I'm going to cover with the leaf and the petals. So I came on kind of over and just went back and forth. I did take a picture so I'd know where to put all this back. Plus you're going to see the red through there because it is a little bit of an open stitch. So you'll know where to come back and put those. So it was just back and forth, and then putting in the herringbone. And tram is just another version of padding, or you're kind of lifting it up a little bit. So once the underlayer is in place, then you're going to come back and you're just going to work the stitch like you would regularly work it. You're just putting it on top of that horizontal stitch. And I did that with the Petite Very Velvet. I'm just reading my notes. Okay, so, and I got you 2 pictures there at the bottom. And then let's see, from there, I worked the, I've lost track of my pages here, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that was page 9. Page 10 was the bunny in the basket. So the bunny, and he was fun to do. So here he is. Let me get a little closer there on him, add a little light. There we go. Now you can really see him. Okay, so the bunny's face is just in a tent stitch. And I did the bunny in the Bella Lusa with some whisper. Then the legs I did on him, if I lift the bow, the legs are just done in some long and short stitches. so I could kind of poof him up a little bit. So I've got several layers of his little feet running in just some long and short stitches. And his body is in a very loose tent stitch. So I tried not to pull really tight. I pulled a little bit tighter in his face on my tent stitches and tried to leave the body a little bit looser, not quite as of a tight tent. And then the long stitches on his feet. His nose is a French knot right there. And then his little eye is just one little stitch with some black. I did not put any black in y'all's kit because I could not in good conscience charge you for that much black when it was one little dot. And everyone's got black in their stash. I used the same pink that I used over here for the coat. So you could use any of the colors that you wanted. I probably used this lighter Threadworks from the shading of that. Then I also put a little bit of some straight stitches there in the tops of his ears. I did use the impressions that you have in your thing, in your bag, and that is the outline of his little paws, his little feet there. So I did put the outline in there, and I put it in after I had stitched him. So I went back and placed that little curve there after. So that is the bunny. And I know he's painted with no pink on that second ear. I added, mine had some pink in that second ear. Y'all's is not painted with a little bit of the pink in there. So I just I would just ad lib a little bit there. I just noticed y'all's didn't have the pink in there. So that is the bunny. I did add more whisper on the ears. When I did his ears, actually, I think I did most of the ears in just whisper. I don't think I had any of the essentials or the Bella Lusa with the ears. I think the ears are all whisper. Any pink. Okay. Then the hearts on the back and the hearts on the front. They are done in flare. When you work with flare, you want to use one needle size larger than you would for your canvas. If you're working with a 24 on an 18 count, you want to go up to a 22. And that was the same rule for the Very Velvet. So when you work with the Very Velvet or the flare, use a larger needle. It enlarges the hole slightly so that it makes it easier for the thread to go through and you don't wear it down or fray it. And it just makes it easier to go through. It also works well with the whisper as well, because then you don't lose all the wispy stuff off the whisper thread. So for these, there should have been a 22 in your kit as well for those. So the hearts are just done in a road stitch with the flare. The main thing about this is you want to make sure you start at the same spot for each heart, ending with the one that goes from the very bottom right there to the middle. So all your hearts should be started and stopped in the same spot. Of course, the ones on the front of the bag are a little bit smaller. I stitched over the white that is painted on there. Go to white. We'll go back and add those with, we'll add the bead there in the middle. There is a little gold. So that takes care of the hearts. Then from the hearts, I used the gold Kreinik that we had down here at the bottom of the coat. And I used it for the hangers. So on the front, once I was all done with the basket, I went back and just added some straight gold stitches just on top of the herringbone. So just on top of the basket, like it's coming down off the top of the basket. So if your top of the basket somewhere right in here, remember the top part's going to get covered with flowers. So just start it somewhere up here and bring it down just to the start of the dip down in the heart. And we'll do that. And then on the back side, I just took it, ran it from the top of the bag, ran it down to the top of the heart. Then from here, I kind of ran it under, like it was coming out from underneath this heart to the middle of this one. then ran it back up, just ending it somewhere in here. And of course, this one was too short to have anything gold on it. From there, I put the bows on. So I'm going to show you how to do the bows. So I'll do a demo of those in just a second, along with, and those are worked in a loops, just a simple loop stitch. Then in the middle of the loop stitch, we're going to put the little gold bead in the middle of. Let's see if I can get close here. So right in the middle of the bow is a French knot, and at the bottom of the French knot is the gold bead, and that's just worked. Just 2 little loops with a French knot. So you do the loops first, you're going to tack it in the back, then come back and add your French knot, then come back and add your beads. So that's for all 6 of those. So that gets you your hearts, the bows on your hearts, the beads, and the last thing, which you'll do, which I went ahead and included in here because it was pretty safe at this point to go ahead and add, are the jingle bells. You can add them or you can leave them off. It's up to you. I think I did give you an extra one in the bag, so if you wanted to add some extra bells. And then I went back, and if you look at the canvas, it has these little dips, these little dots that I stitched over. And that was where I tried to kind of come back and put the bells. So then I actually went every other of the white. So here, skip, here, skip. I couldn't really put one in there because it was too close with the heart. So I put one here, skip, of course, heart, skip, in here. So I just randomly added the bells to the back of the bag. So that is the bag, the basket, and the bunny. Oh, we got all the bees today, didn't we? Okay, now to do those loop stitches, let's pull my canvas over and get a little more here. Let's go to this other side. It's a little less worked over here. We're running out of space here, aren't we? And I had my red ribbon. Well, I did have my, oh, there it is. There's my red ribbon. Okay, when you're working with a ribbon, you want to work with short lengths. For this, mine is a little long, so I will cut it in half. I've lost. Oh, thank you, Miss Walker. Okay, so with ribbon, you want to cut it at an angle, just like that. That makes it easier to thread your needle. You work with the size, any size. So this one's a 24. So you're just going to thread it right through. The trick to ribbon is you can, when you use River Silk's ribbon, other ribbon, this doesn't work, but theirs is specially done. And if you look at your ribbon closely, you can tell it's got a little ridge on the sides. It keeps it from fraying. So you're going to go 1/4 of an inch about from the end of where you've cut it, and you're just going to pierce it. That locks your needle onto your canvas. The nice thing about River Silks is they don't fray. So with ribbon work, there's 2 ways to attach it. You can attach it by coming down in the next hole where you're going to be working. Coming back, you can then again pierce about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. So you can pierce the end of it, pull tight, and you are locked onto the canvas. Your other option is to do a pin stitch underneath the area where you're going to be doing your work. And a pin stitch would be an L stitch or a T stitch. So you're just going to come up through a hole. You're going to come right back down. You're going to come back up either vertically or horizontally. And when you come right back down, you want to try to pierce that ribbon as you kind of go back through. And that's the pin stitch. And you put that right up underneath where you are working for your ribbon. So then you're going to come up into hole A. You're going to come back down. Wait, let's go next hole in B. So there is your loop. Now your loop is not attached. If you pull too hard, you're going to lose your loop. So we will do that again. So we're going to come up. We're going to come right back down. So there's your loop. So it is best to hold your loop with a laying tool, a finger, another needle, whatever size you want for your loop. Once you start your second stitch, and if you're going to do that bow, you want to come out one hole over from your first. You're going to come right back down the next hole. Once you start this second loop, your first loop is in place. So then once you get your second loop, you want to flip it over, holding, I usually hold with my finger the other loops. Then you're just going to kind of come through and pierce a little bit of the ribbon on the back to help lock it in place. Now I am locked and loaded. Okay, then you're going to come right up from the middle. Do your French knot. We're going to go diagonal. And there's the French knot right there in the middle. Okay, so that's ribbon work. Well, while I've got it, let's go and because that's let's go ahead while I've got you. Let's just go, I'm already demoing it. Let's just go ahead. So if you were wanting to add tails, you would come up through the bottom. You could either cut it and leave it for a loose tail, or you could do a Japanese ribbon stitches, which is what we're going to do on the flowers on the front. So on a Japanese ribbon stitch, you're going to pull your ribbon about where you want the end of the tail to be. You're going to puncture the middle of the ribbon and you're going to pull. It leaves just a little bit of a poof on the end. This is another one you have to keep your finger until you get it tacked down or get the second one going. So I'll go back and add my second little tail for my bow. So we'll come up. Ribbon work, you never want to work fast. You've got to be very patient and you've got to work very slow with ribbon work. Then we come back down and then there's a bow. Cute. Woohoo. Okay. Now, when we get to beading, and I'm demoing on huge honker beads just to make it easier for you to see. So you're going to take it, you're going to use your beading needle, thread it with your gold thread. Usually I double it. So I take it and just do a yard, fingertip to nose. I double it. I put both the loose ends through the needle. Then I can attach it as a loop knot on the back. So when you're going to attach it to something on the back, come through that little loop on the other end that doesn't have the two holes to it. Here, I'll demo it with my impressions. Well, not very coordinated today. Blame it on the witches.
Sounds good to me.
I do. Blame it on the witches. I actually read an article about all the hauntings in the castles in London. It's pretty cool. Who's haunting what? Okay, so you put both ends through the eye of the needle, and that leaves you with a little loop here on the end. Okay, so then what you do, flip her over. You're just gonna, excuse me, attach it. Well, I've got a knot in there that I left from before. Okay. Oop, I got you out of view. Sorry. Gotta find you. Where are we? Here we are. So you run it. So sorry. run it through some threads in the back, and that leaves you, you've got your 2 loose ends through the needle. You've got a loop here on the back. So what you do is you do a loop knot. So you run your needle through that loop and it attaches to your back of your canvas. And that's a loop knot. And that works great for beads. Also for beads, you can puncture the middle of the canvas. It's harder to do on 18 than 13, right through the middle here, through the intersection where right in the middle of the plus sign. You could also, your beading needle goes through that easily. That's a second way to attach a bead. The third way would be the pin stitch that we did earlier with the ribbon. Okay, so we're going to come back over. Let me find me here. Okay, so to add the bead, which is going to sit just below the bow, I'll just come up here. So you come up where you want your bead. You're going to pick up your bead, and I know mine's and of course, I did not get a needle small enough. You would think that's the 22 needle. Here, we'll just do one of this. I'm not going to do the lasso. Okay, threading my needle back. Okay, so at this point, you're going to add on your bead, and I'm still not doing, okay, so I need a size 28 needle. Okay, so for beading, you've got several sizes of beads. You have your size 14, 15, commonly known as seed beads, and they work well on size 18 canvases, unless you're doing a single seed stitch, and then they work well on on a size 18 if you're doing just a single stitch or a brick stitch, because in a brick stitch, you sit directly into the hole. All your other stitches, all your other beads sit on the intersections. So when your beads sit in the hole, you can also go with a larger bead so that you can see the bead. On a size 13 canvas, you would use a size 14, 15 bead, not size 14, 15. You do size 11 bead on a size 13 canvas. There are incidences on a size 13 canvas where you can use a size 8 bead, and that would be for your brick beading. Of course, you could also do different sizes depending on, where you're putting it. Okay, so sorry about that delay. Okay, so I've got my bead. So you're going to come up, you're going to go back down into the next hole, and there's your bead. Now, to keep that bead from being so wiggly, see how wiggly that is? We do a lasso stitch. So you come right back up in the same hole you came up with originally. You're going to put your finger between the 2 threads. And it is easier to do with beading threads. So usually what I do is I then just take my fingernail, I go on top of the bead, then you go right back down into that same hole you went down into. And this is the lasso stitch for beading. And you'll see I hardly wiggle that bead now that it is attached. So you do a lasso stitch on stitches that are off to themselves, kind of singular, where they go. I did go ahead and add some to my sky. They're hard to see, but I did add some beads. And so what I did was I did a lasso stitch. When I added some beads to my snowflakes on my trees, I lassoed about every 3 to 4. Or I would lasso when I finished up with a snowflake and went to another snowflake, I would lasso first and last. So those are the general rules for beading. We do a more in-depth beading class here if you're interested. So that's the lasso stitch to to apply your beads that go at the base of each of those, that go in at the base of each of those bows. So that is today. And with your demos, I will get this sent over as soon as I get it from Michelle. I am here for any questions. 843-842-8488. You have my email. Feel free to email me, call the store. And I hope you guys are doing well. If you have any questions, please, please, please give me a call. I am happy to help. Next week, we will finish up with the beading on the tassels, the beading in the tassels, the fringe beading, and the turkey work on the base of his coat and his hat and around his collar. And if you don't want to do all that turkey tufting, be thinking about it, because there are other stitches that we can also use. So that would be next week with all this turkey tufting. And I'm waiting to demo it for you guys because it's easier for you to see it on the canvas as I work it. So that will be next week. Like I said, any questions, give me a call. Hope you guys are doing well. Have a great Halloween today. Don't eat too much candy. Thank you.